Entrepreneurs, what is up? You are tuned in to the Non-Corporate Network. You're watching Entreprenews. My name is Chaz Vandemater.
Dustin Trout.
We're excited to bring you the top 6 trending small business stories in the world, Craig. 3 minutes each. We debate. I win. Dustin, do you have anything you want to add?
I'll just finish that. I win not that often. So yeah, it's always a good time. I love it. This is kind of a nice little break from the day. You know, love everything business wise. So I mean, it's always fun to stay on top of the latest trends, what's going on in the business world.
Moving quick, man. There's all sorts of crazy stuff happening in the world. It seems like every other day we got 10 different crazy stories that we got to filter down to 6. So I'm excited. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. Non-Corporate Network is content made by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. So if that is you, we're happy that you're tuned in with us. With that, do we want to just kind of get into our first story there, Dustin?
Yeah, it's Friday. Let's just dive right in.
Okay. So the biggest announcement at Apple's developers conference, Apple came out last week and said they're not going to be using Intel Core processing chips on their newest Mac devices. This is a big deal. It's a big stance that they're taking. Not necessarily a pivot within their organization, but definitely, Intel is kind of owned this space for a long time. And so I think it was just a matter of time before Apple wanted to kind of develop it themselves. But what do you think about these chips not being made by Intel anymore for Apple devices?
I mean, sorry, Intel. It's a huge change in your business that's going to be moving forward. I mean, Apple's sitting on a ton of cash. I mean, they have a ton of R&D, money laying around. And if you can build it internally, it's obviously going to be cheaper. What I'm interested in is to see, one, is it going to be more power? Like, there's 2 different ways it can go. It can either be the same specs and be a little bit cheaper, or for the same price, the specs are way stronger or faster, whatever it may be. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a huge game changer just for Apple devices. What are your thoughts? Do you think people are going to like it? Do you think they're going to pass on the savings, or are they just going to?
I wonder what this looks like for profitability for them, right? I mean, obviously you're going to incur a lot of costs going into being able to create this yourself. So obviously they're looking at 20 years down the road and going, okay, there's going to be a break-even point where our R&D and everything in terms of production costs starts to level out. But obviously, like, Apple, the real identity of Apple was this very simple operating system that they brought to the table compared to Microsoft's a little bit more advanced version. And so I think when it comes to this, I like what they're doing. I think that if it preaches into their values of simplifying things, making it easy to use, that it seems to make sense. I just wish that they would update Apple Maps and Safari a little bit more.
Probably two of their worst products.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking towards the future. I mean, more and more. I mean, even kids' toys are coming with computer chips and whatnot. So I mean, it's definitely looking at the future. We're not trending more towards 3.5-inch floppy disks. You almost had that flub like you had, but yeah, we're not trending reverse. So I think it's a huge step in moving forward. I think they're just gonna create a whole new revenue line. I think there's gonna be a lot of companies that maybe shift from Intel.
Good point, because like we've seen, hardware is progressing more and more every year. Moore's law. I mean, every year it's like there's a new piece of hardware, but that the guts of it are usually being built with the same pieces of like computer chips from Intel. So it's like, I think they're strategically going, we're going to try to keep up with the hardware, but why, with all these new devices we're making, are we using someone else's product on the inside?
It only makes sense. So on to our next story. So eMarketer, since they've been estimating how much ad platforms are making in revenue, and that's, Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, LinkedIn ads, all the ad platforms, it's the first time that Google has actually seen a decline year over year. they're projected to have about a 5.3% decline year over year, which equates going from 42 billion down to 39 billion. I mean, still billions of dollars, lots of money. But I mean, I'm huge on trends, and obviously this is not a good trend for them. But I wonder, is it that they're losing market share to Facebook, which Facebook and Amazon are projected to increase, with Facebook going up 4.5% and Amazon going up 23%. So is it they're taking more market share, or is it that we just have a new breed of digital marketers that haven't had experience on Google Ads and they're just shifting everything, basically bandwagoning, and it's the holy grail of everything, and just maybe Google's getting forgotten? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook's notoriously the easiest ads manager to use. And so, I'm sure that there's some of that shift coming from, your entrepreneurs coming out of the woodwork and going, Facebook's the easiest place, lowest hanging fruit. But $3 billion tells me that there are some big companies that are kind of having like an exodus from Google Ads or shifting budget from Google Ads. My hypothesis here is that there's a lot of companies that are going, oh, Facebook CPMs are looking hot right now. Instagram looking hot right now. Let's go and move some of our digital budget over to Facebook from Google. But let's not move our budget of billboards and print stuff that I throw in the garbage. Yeah, it's like, no, we got to keep those things because those have always worked for us. But it's like, if you always do what you always done, you always get what you always gotten. That's my motto. So I think that I would stress these companies to stop pulling from your own digital budget and moving things and pull from other budgets, increase the digital budget, especially with how much attention is on these platforms right now.
Well, I mean, what's amazing is working at different agencies, seeing the inner workings on traditional versus digital. I mean, it's incentivized for the person who's making the decision quite often on the traditional side. I mean, I've seen where instead of going the Hulu route, where it was literally you can reach 4 times the amount of people with your budget, this person made a decision to go with traditional cable because they got World Series tickets. Yeah. That's not looking at the company's best interest, but that's incentivizing them. And so it's only a matter of time before that changes. And I think what we're going through right now is going to be a huge push in that direction, where some of these people that are making decisions are going to have those hard questions like, why are we spending this much money on this platform that we can't track, we can't re-engage with them after the fact? Why? And when times are good, you don't have those questions. But
yeah, well, you got big players that I think are also cutting into that Google traffic conversation too. I mean, obviously Bing is there. Obviously Amazon is driving like over half of the search volume of actual products. There's a lot of players that are coming in and kind of chiseling away at de facto go to Google to start your search. And so I think that's an interesting trend as well.
Yep. On to our next story. So applicants for new businesses or new business creation have plummeted in the last couple months. I mean, obviously due to the coronavirus and everything that's going on. What's been hit hardest is the Northeast region. I mean, my thoughts are, should we start creating stimulus around business creation? I mean, the more businesses you have, the more jobs will come. With unemployment going up, obviously we have, 40 million people just sitting around. I mean, they might be looking for jobs, but I think there's a lot of change going on. When there's a lot of change and consumer habits and everything, there's a lot of innovation and a lot of problems that can be solved. With that, there's a lot of business that can be created. So it's I don't know. What are your thoughts on just this trend? I mean, do you think that we should start figuring out stimulus around business creation?
I used to work at a sales office, and they would incentivize people that, hey, if you go spin out, like if you get a certain amount of people on your sales team, that you would then have the authority to spin up a sales office in any of these different regions. And depending on what region it is, there's seed capital that you're given to go and do that. And it kept people around because they were like, oh, I get 30 grand to start this business. Mm-hmm. That's what I need to keep the doors open, hire some people. And so, I think that's a great incentive compared to the non-incentive of, oh, I'm making more money in unemployment. Let me just sit on my ass. So it's like, I think that, you bring up a good point. But yeah, I think that because of this kind of Wild West, triple P conversation that, CPAs are making stuff up as they go. We're seeing people that are collecting both triple P, but they're laid off, but they're still getting triple P, but then they're also getting unemployment. There's so many different things happening right now that, again, I bring it up all the time. Why are we not making rules and like setting precedent before we just put these policies into play? It's like, well, let's hope it works out. But, if it doesn't, then I guess we'll just make some rules as we go. It's like, it's not the way to do things.
Yeah, and it's not like we're talking just new policies. We're talking trillions of dollars of debt. Like that's, before I make a purchase on a new phone, I do a ton of research and everything. It just seems like, we need money here. Just throw it into the economy and let's see what happens. It's a little worrisome because it's like, you have a rise in unemployment, you have a decline in business creation. What does that look like if we continue that trend for the next couple of years? It's
well, the gig economy is growing, and I know that there's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, they're doing some incentives where they're offering people, if you hire a person that's in Tulsa remote, you automatically get like a $5,000 stimulus, or there's some incentives out there like, hey, we'll give you a bonus of $1,500 if you're on unemployment and you get a W-2 job or whatever it is. So it's like, I think there's things that are starting to come out of the woodwork that are helping to incentivize it. But it's like it's like when you tell a lie and then you have to keep making up more lies to cover your ass. Like that's what I'm seeing here is like, okay, well, we made this policy, but now we got to keep making more policies on top of it to like make the policy work instead of like admitting defeat and starting over. And it's like, yeah, I think it's funny to see how much we've been flip-flopping around with this triple piece.
Well, hopefully that trend reverses. So on to our next story, Square. It's a POS system, pretty popular. Their stock keeps rising, but as mentioned, it's a point of sale system. What they've done is developed a tool or a service to where any business can have anything delivered. They have functionality that you can have on your website that allows your website visitors to purchase something and have it delivered. Doesn't need to be a restaurant. It could be, Ace Hardware and delivering tools and whatever it may be. What's interesting is it's only $1.50 per delivery. So no matter how big the order is, it's only $1.50. More so, the company can pass that cost on to the consumer. I think their goal is to kind of replace these Uber Eats and all these delivery services that charge a percentage of the overall ticket. And that's a huge cut on profitability for the company. And so, it's the thought, I think, is awesome. Whether a POS system should be coming up with this or maybe a new company. What are your thoughts on Square trying to come into the game?
I think that they're just kind of laying down to Stripe. I think they just know that they just got waxed by Stripe. And so it's like, how are we going to stand out? How are we going to be a point of difference? And when you talk about a POS system, like obviously these like restaurants are a big place where those are being used. And so obviously that's kind of their core customer. And I think that they're trying to kind of go deeper with that kind of an inch wide, mile deep kind of thing. And so, I think it's interesting, but at the end of the day, how much goes into getting a fleet of drivers that are actually going to be dependable? How much goes into creating a neural map of how to organize where you're picking up and dropping off? You've got companies like DoorDash, Uber that have millions and millions of dollars in development into their products. And I'm sure they've got a headhunter pulling a few people off of the payroll over there. But still, it's like how much time goes into creating just that system alone on the back end? Stay in your lane, man. We'll see what happens, but to create a nationwide delivery force is completely separate from what they're doing with POS systems. And so it just doesn't make very much sense to me that they would pivot that way.
I think it's innovative. It's during these times, you got to figure out how to pivot. Kind of to your point, what I wonder is with all these logistics and having to figure out the delivery, how are you paying these delivery people if you're only making $1.50 on the delivery? So are you taking a big loss and running with this?
How much cash do you have?
Yeah, that's what it comes down to is how much cash do you have to fund this and let this get out there to grow your overall business base so that you can get more point of sale systems into businesses. It'll be interesting to see.
I can't imagine the hardware game with POS systems is that lucrative. What do those things cost? Less than $500, at least, probably less than $250, depending on what it is. So I can't imagine. I know sometimes they're just giving them there to incentivize them to have them and use them.
Yeah, because they make their money whenever a card is swiped. Yeah. That's how they make their money.
But the non-touching, what do we call that when you
contactless payment?
Contactless payments. That's a trend. So maybe they're going to capitalize a little bit there. But on to our next story here. Congress investigating how data broker, what's the name of the company? Ventel has been selling location data to government agencies such as Homeland Security. This is kind of like Cambridge Analytica. It's, eventually it's going to come out of the woodwork that, oh, wow, the government's been monitoring all of our location data and tapping into it. And a company like Ventel that doesn't seem like any of us has ever heard of them, but they're making billions and billions of dollars. It's like, we glorify like Amazons and those companies of the world, but you've got these companies that are very silently collecting and selling data without our knowledge. And we opted in though, Dustin. We opted in.
And that's always my go-to is you opted in. And my question is, then who? I mean, who's this company that's making billions of dollars selling to the government? And my thing is, why are us as taxpayers paying so that the government can buy our data? That to me, that's not ROI positive. That's not a good use of taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah.
But I think what it goes back to, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is I think there's always this huge argument around what's being collected, how it's being used, and all that. And I think one thing that could be done is incentivize people for giving their data in terms of anytime your data is used for targeting, for whatever it may be, we'll pay you, whether it's a couple cents, a couple bucks, whatever it may be. But I think that would then allow more people to be willing to share it because they're going to get paid. Advertisers can then have more data to target, which then we create a more personalized experience, which is what everyone wants. I mean, you always hear that it's like, oh, I saw this ad for diapers and I'm, 18 years old. I don't even have a kid on the way. Like that's not personalized. And so I think doing something like that would just help everyone. And then you're not incentivizing these companies to collect it and make billions of dollars selling it to the government. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, there's a cryptocurrency called Basic Attention Token that is doing this exact thing. Guy that created JavaScript does it. I think it's interesting. Yeah, we should be compensating people. That it would probably stop everyone from being so upset. This is a direct quote from the article here, Wall Street Journal. Ventel aggregates location data from smartphone apps and sells it to its clients, which include the Department of Homeland Security and the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, the FBI, and other government agencies, according to Wall Street Journal. Ventel is one of many similar data brokers which traffic largely in location data collected from smartphones and in some cases even sold by the carriers themselves. So, wondering how these telecom companies are staying viable, it's because they're selling the location data too. It's like, I think that we need to be more woke as a country to the fact that this is happening. And, I think that it is a giant breach of trust. And because it's not the government that's collecting it, now it's okay that a business is collecting it and the government's buying it. Yeah. Again, with our tax dollars, I mean, you can tell I'm fired up about this. And I wish I had an answer for what needs to change, but it's the Wild West with data security and right now, and it just needs to be precedents that are set. And until that happens, we're not going to see any kind of change.
Pay the people for their data. That's all it is.
It's hard to prioritize this over, the other craziness that's happening. So but no, I digress. Okay, getting into our next story here. I believe this is our final story. There's an ad boycott going on Facebook right now. Companies such as, there's a lot of them, Mongolia Studios, REI, Eddie Bauer, Verizon have all pulled their ad dollars off of Facebook until the end of July, I believe, in response to Facebook kind of not taking a stance against kind of this monitoring of content and hate. And so I think that this is an interesting trend and definitely something where you're seeing this exodus off of Facebook. I wonder if that story we discussed earlier is going to kind of balance back out. But I think it's interesting. These brands are going, we know CPMs are low. We know that this is a viable ads channel for us. And even still, we're going to pull to set our precedent. And I think part of it is because, there's a lot of client uproar and they want to kind of position themselves as, we want to stand with our customers and fight hate, especially online. And so I think it's interesting, but, I wonder where Mark Zuckerberg is as the stock price drops. But,
yeah, I mean, we just looked before this, it's down 5.5%. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg came out and said they're not going to change their policy based off of losing revenue. They're going to continue on their stance. it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, my thoughts are, sweet, let's invest more money into Facebook ads because CPMs are going to go down this next month. Take advantage of that. But, one thing that kind of stuck out to me was, sure, Verizon pulled out, but they're spending $2 million a month. And going back to where people are spending their dollars, it amazes me that a company that probably has, 50, 60, 80 million a month in overall marketing budget, probably more, such a small sliver is going to social. So, it is a hit for Facebook, but most of the revenue comes in from small business, which I'm sure are going nowhere. So there's a lot of small businesses that will probably reap the benefits from this, just because the overall cost to reach people is going to go down.
Going back to this point about Mark Zuckerberg, I feel like he's just taking notes from Donald Trump on how to not do things properly. Literally, make a statement, come out and do something that isn't argumentative to the people that are the ones that are walking out of your office, the ones that are the huge customers of yours that are bringing in, even if it's $2 million a month. Times 20 different businesses, they're probably losing $100 million at least in ad money just off of a short list of businesses that have pulled out. And it's just why are you being argumentative with people? He's been very decisive in his career, not selling to Yahoo, doing stories, buying Instagram. There's been a lot of good moves. And I think that he's kind of in this stance now where it's what I say goes and we're not going anywhere. We're too big to fail. And it's I think that customers have much more of a voice now. And because of that, I think
because of Facebook.
Yeah, because of Facebook. But it's when you have that big of a voice and you're kind of aggregating people into digital communities online, information travels quicker and things happen quicker. And so I think that customers as a whole are becoming a little bit more woke, which is good to see that, if we pull together, we can kind of make some changes. So yeah, I think it's exciting.
I don't think it's going to last forever. So, I think the two big things are costs are going to go down, spend more ad dollars on Facebook, invest some dollars into their stock. I think, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. Either he'll change or something will happen. They are pretty big, but even if it's not going to be a 2-3 year run, there's going to be some money to be made here in the next couple months because it's down 5%.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think it's crazy too. I was again pretty surprised about Apple and their manufacturing of the chips. That was a big thing they came out and said.
Yeah, no, I think the Google story is what interests me because it's been doing digital marketing for a while, and it's anyone I talk to that's new, it's always just Google Ads. I think it's it's older. And I think it's more people just don't want to learn it, and they're just Facebook is easy. So. Yeah. Which I think creates more opportunity on that platform. Yeah, so
definitely. Well, if you liked any of these stories, definitely let us know. If you have stories of your own that you want us to discuss, happy to do that. If you're looking to start your own show, you want to spread your message to entrepreneurs, we are here for you. Reach out to us, ncnbroadcast.com. Fill out a form and we'll get in touch with you, and you can do a show just like this on NCN. But again, you're tuned into the Non-Corporate Network. Do you have anything you want to add there, Dustin?
Advantage. You got some extra time on your hands or need something done? Trade that excess capacity.
$50 for free if you sign up.
They're here locally in Phoenix. They have quite a few businesses under them. You can get golf lessons, there's creative, there's website development, there's nail salons. There's pretty much anything. So, it's if you're looking for something for your wife, maybe trade an hour consulting for, a full set getting done. And I don't know why I actually know that, but yeah, you go trade.
You're collecting PPP, you're collecting unemployment. May as well collect $150.
There you go.
While you're at it, we thank you, Sean, for being in support of Entreprenews, and like I said, this is content by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. We appreciate you being here with us this morning. Once again, my name is Chaz Vandemotter.
Dustin Trout.
Signing off. Thank you for being with us. We will see you on Monday morning. Get after it today. Finish strong and enjoy your weekends.
See you Monday.
Peace.